Okay, so here I am sending mail to a user called Ben at Dash 9 Computing. Now, that didn't exist before, so what I did is I did the receipt, EHLO, mail from, a made up thing. I'm not doing checks on that. Send it and sent this message. And here I typed mail and I showed that user Pi has a mail, but I sent it to Ben. How did that even work? Well, if we look at Etsy, I went in the directory, Etsy Postfix aliases. It's in Etsy. So let's just cat Etsy. I don't know why it's in there. I might move it, but for now, by default, it's in here. Etsy aliases. Notice there's one here called Ben, and it points to Pi, the user Pi on the system. You have mail in var mail Pi. Now the alias is only a piece of it. You can add it there, but it won't work unless you run. I have it in my history here. Post alias on Etsy aliases, and that creates an alias.db file. So if we just ls-la Etsy aliases.db, you'll see that that's the file that the postfix process actually uses. And that's how I sent a mail to Ben, and it went to user Pi, and Pi has a mailbox. So now it keeps telling me you have mail, so let's look at mail. Okay, so we have mail. Let's just print the mail. It's from, we can see who it's from. I didn't put a subject in this one, but here it is. So the mail was sent to, it was for Ben at this server, delivered to Ben, which expanded to Pi at this local server, and that's it. Pretty simple, pretty sweet. So that's how aliases work. Okay, so I'd be remiss if I didn't show you a mail log. It looks big and nasty, but if you kind of read from the bottom up, this is in kind of reverse time. Here's the final disconnect. And, well, maybe that's not the best way to show you. So if we look at a timestamp, 2443, so here is where we originally connected. And here's the mail ID. That's what you kind of can search on to find the messages that have to do with just this mail. It gives some message ID, the host, here's the from, here's the to. So it was originally sent to, remember I said I created an alias, ben at dash9computing.com, but it went to Pi. Well, check it out. In here you can see originally to ben at dash9computing, but right in front of it, it expanded it to, it goes to Pi at dash.com. That's helpful. It shows it was a local relay, the total time, which is very long, 8.7 seconds. And here's some different I'll say variables, but here's the different components of where the delays were. Not sure why it was 8.7 seconds, but again, it was status was sent, which is successful, and then once it's sent, it removes it from the mail queue. And if there were some stuck there, mail queue would show mail queue has some bad messages in it. But that's it. Cool, simple. Okay, so I've been busy. I went through and did a bit of configuration. So we're in Etsy Postfix right now, and you'll notice there's a lot of new files. So let's just look at the files kind of quickly. So I'm going to do cat, which is a command that just means to kind of dump the what's in the file. Access is empty. I'm not actually using it, but I did create it in an access.db file. Canonical. So basically, that's if, let's say I have a subdomain called lab1.dash9computing.com, which I might make in DNS. That way, if someone sends an email to ben at, or let's say there is a ben at lab1, it'll append it and make it, it'll rewrite it and call it lab1 and fully qualified -9computing.com. So I just don't really need it, but I'm just sort of showing some different options. And now client access, this is commented out, but basically it's another database file, and it kind of will say, like, for example, this says if I commented it in, anything that has any number of characters, so that says has DHCP in the front of it, and then maybe some numbers, so maybe that's how the format is, like DHCP dash your IP address, and then it could be .client, it could be .client.guest, it could be .guest.dashcomputing.com. I don't want any of them sending email, let's say. So it'll say this server cannot use you can 554, this server cannot be used to relay outbound mail from your address. That's if I have just, say, people visiting and I don't want them using my mail server. It's handy in a lot of scenarios. I also created MX access. So MX access, these two networks, they're 192.168.1.0/24 and 172.16.0/24 are okay to relay mail through me. That's it. So no other networks. And let's see, I also did something with a regex XP access. So this basically says, so anybody at like some noisy host on my network.-9computing.com, just chuck that mail. If they start sending me mail, you know, sometimes there's an appliance or an IoT device and it just keeps sending mail and you can't figure it out. Like that's just, or maybe you have a customer and they're just sending you garbage. Just drop it on the floor. No one wants it. They ask you to just dev null it, which means kind of throw it in the trash. That's kind of another way to handle that. And also notice there's these DB files that I'm creating. I'll show you how to make those in a minute and why that's important. But let's look at sender access. So this, here's that post map hash. That's how you create a DB file, is post mapping it and you give it a hash. And there's different ways to do it. And then you also have to restart Postfix. Made myself a little note. But basically, if you want to start rejecting mail from someone, say you've got a bad mail client or someone's sending mail from outside and they're sending just a unique circumstance where it's not necessarily spam that you're blocking, but it's something specific. Like I don't want to get mail from this one person. You can pop them in here and just say reject. Very handy. And I'll show you where we kind of call all that. And then there's the TLS policy. Oh, I don't think I created the DB file for that. Looks like I didn't. I'll have to do that. So basically this, or maybe there isn't a TLS underscore policy.db. I can't remember now. I'll check. So basically, TLS is encryption. It uses an SSL certificate, excuse me. And so it's secure email, basically. It's encrypted email. Basic email, port 25 is in the clear. Someone could sniff it. And I kind of put in like medicaldomain.com. What you could say is like, hey, anybody sending something to bostonchildrens.org, encrypt that mail. I don't want it going in the clear. I want to force encryption just to be secure, and it has a lot to do with compliancy. So it's important to have a file like that. Certainly I don't need this for home, and this is a bit of a sandbox, but I just kind of wanted to show some of that. So how does this all get called, right? And again, remember the main.cf? So let's VI as an editor, main.cf, and I'm going to go Shift-G, because I put all my my changes at the bottom. I'm going to do Control-B just to go back a couple pages. Okay, here we go. So I made a little section here. Hash marks are comments. So I said this has to do. We actually saw this in the previous one. That home underscore mailbox maildir, and the mailbox command, that is to create files in a directory. It's a more secure way of handling mail. And then here's some, this is kind of big. I went kind of nuts. So these are recipient restrictions. So for recipients, we're going to check sender access. Does the person have access to send through us? And remember that file sender access. Here we are calling it Etsy Postfix sender access. We're going to reject any mail we get from a non-fully qualified sender. So if someone sends us mail and it's not a legit domain name, or it's just, you know, user at an IP address or something, we're just going to drop it. I'm going to assume it's spam. It just gets rid of a ton of junk. Here's the check client access, and here's this is actually PCRE. It's not a hash. That's a Perl. I forget what the RE part is, but it's basically Perl and an expression, regular expression. I'm getting closer. P. I don't know what the C is. So, and it looks in there for anything I have. And here's reject unlisted recipients, so someone that just doesn't exist. An unknown sending domain, it doesn't exist in DNS anywhere that I can resolve it. I want to permit my networks, but my networks are defined right here. I want to allow my clients to send mail, you know, at the larger level. Then we can start blocking more aggressively if we'd like. So again, check client access. And that's where that MX access file came in handy. And now here I've added some Spamhaus stuff, and I've added all of it, even though you probably really only need the .zen, this one, the zen.spamhaus.org. But basically RBLs, SBLs, XBLs, these are all different spam lists Spamhaus is free. Highly recommend it, and you just kind of give, these different zones, and then the final one is a reject. Okay, I'm trying to move through it quickly. You can always dig a little deeper, ask me a question if you want to know. So here's client restrictions. So again, check the client access, and this is that regexp. We're doing a regex. It's like a Unix thing. It's a regular expression, and that way we can say like, oh, that's the one where it shows like, oh, if someone's like of a DHCP client of a specific type, I don't want them sending mail. Okay, and then permitting my networks, etc. We'll just kind of fly through. Here's some rate limiting stuff, and this is handy for a valid client, but it's a script, and they're just firing literally hundreds of thousands of emails at you, just like a machine gun. So we use something called Anvil, and I kind of defined what it is. The Anvil rate time limit, I just put some definitions, but I also did a little breakdown down here. So when we say, these are in seconds, by the way. So a client can make 50 simultaneous connections in a 15-minute time frame. That's the 50 and the 900. So remember, these are seconds, 900 seconds. The maximum connections, the rate limit's 100 within 15 minutes. 100 emails in 15 minutes for a basic client is good. There's a way to get around this. You can create a list of people that do not get affected by this. So say you have another mail server. You should put them in your sort of safe sender list, which we have. I believe I created it. I'll double check. And then down here, event limit exceptions, my networks. So that's kind of we're not putting any limitations on anything in my networks file. So actually all my clients are allowed to do it, but you can be more specific if you want to be. And I recommend it on a large scale. Disable verify command. These are sort of error limits. Recipient limit. You can't send an email to more than 10,000 recipients. Sounds crazy, but I've seen 100,000, 200. It gets crazy. So mass mailings, things like that. This just helps get rid of some messaging. Here's some more timeouts. I like putting these in just because what happens is some apps or like tools or something like that will open up a mail connection and send a mail, and then they should exit the connection, but sometimes it doesn't happen. I've seen that where it'll just start opening them, and it'll just take up every single process. I often put in a process limit of like 4,096 maximum processes in Postfix. That way it just doesn't crush the box, so you can still get in and clean up the mess. I didn't do it here because, again, it's just a sandbox kind of thing. But I just wanted to show some of the options to kind of prevent you from being overwhelmed by open connections. And it may not be malicious, it just happens, And then here's how we call the canonical stuff that we were talking about. And then TLS. So yes, I want to use TLS. And then I commented out a few of these things. Just for version 2.5, you need different certs. And again, I don't want to go too far into it, but intermediary certs, etc. I just went with the default certs that are on here. You can generate real ones, which I recommend if you're going to actually do real mail, you'll have to. So here's the timeout again. You want to use true random, urandom. Receive header. Let's see what else. Oh, and here's the forcing TLS, where like you got to have a certain domain use it. So that's a lot, I realize, but that's why I kind of did it beforehand and flew through it. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. There's more, but wait, there's more. Now let's configure the mail server so that, to allow POP and IMAP connections. And we're going to do that with dovecot. So here I am in the dovecot directory, and we are going to sudo vi dovecot.conf. Let's see what we got in here. Okay, so first I'm going to just jump right into, we want to look at listen. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. So listen. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that. We're just going to put a line below called listen space equals everything. Listen on all, everything. Just super duper everywhere. Okay. Now we're also going to check mail _location. Oh, mail underscore location. Oh, I'm in the wrong file. That's probably, I need to back out of this now. I forgot there's other files here, so it's sudo vi. So this one's in dovecot. It's in was it conf.d? Conf.d. And this one, I don't know why it's called 10 mail conf, but it is. Okay, here we go. So now we look in here for mail location. Mail location. Okay. Let's replace. Here it is. We want to replace that. Let's just comment that out. And let's open a new line. That's just O. How exciting. Mail location is going to be your maildir. Maildir. Tilde. Remember I was talking before about your home? A way to kind of express, instead of saying /home/ pi / maildir, here you can kind of put a tilde in, and that just means your home directory. It's kind of a shortcut. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's right quit that. Now let's configure the mail server so that, to allow POP and IMAP connections. And we're going to do that with dovecot. So here I am in the dovecot directory. And we are going to sudo vi dovecot.conf. Let's see what we got in here. Okay, so first I'm going to just jump right into, we want to look at listen. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. So listen. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that. We're just going to put a line below called listen space equals everything. Listen on all, everything. Just super duper everywhere. Okay. Now we're also going to check mail underscore location. Oh, mail underscore location. Oh, I'm in the wrong file. That's probably, I need to back out of this now. I forgot there's other files here, so it's sudo vi. So this one's in dovecot. It's in was it conf.d? Conf.d. And this one, I don't know why it's called 10 mail conf, but it is. Okay, here we go. So now we look in here for mail location. Mail location. Okay. Let's replace. Here it is. We want to replace that. Let's just comment that out. And let's open a new line. That's just O. How exciting. Mail location is going to be your maildir. Maildir. Tilde. Remember I was talking before about your home? A way to kind of express, instead of saying /home/ pi / maildir, here you can kind of put a tilde in, and that just means your home directory. It's kind of a shortcut. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's right quit that. Now, so we are going to kind of fly through some of the configuration here. I had to kind of do it a second time. I made some mistakes putting things in the wrong files, which you may do as well. So be careful. So we're going to sudo, so we're going to deal with the dovecot master config file first. So sudo vi, that's the dovecot, and this is going to be the 10-master, come on, .conf. Oh, I see why. It's actually in conf.d. Okay, so I'm going to Shift G, jump right to the bottom. What I did is I commented out above the server auth section and added this server auth, Unix listener, the path. These are the permissions, user and group, postfix, because dovecot's going to work in conjunction with postfix. So this needs to be accurate, but let's look for where it used to say service auth. Okay, here's service auth. So I commented out, not all of this was commented in, but I just commented out this whole block. So that you do there. Okay, and then now we're going to edit. It's actually 10 auth.conf. And again, we'll just jump to the bottom. That's not where I made my change. Where did I make my change? So I want to allow plain text. So disable plain text auth, no. This will keep you from forcing. You can use plain text. It's very important. Okay, now let's we are in Etsy Postfix, and we're going to sudo vi main.cf, and in the main.cf file, excuse me. So I added quite a bit to the bottom here. Let me just see which one I did first. So auth mechanisms. Auth mechanisms, what I did first. Oh, sorry, jumping around. In here, we want to do auth mechanisms, sorry. So that's in here. So auth mechanisms equals plain space login. Now we are in the 10-auth.conf under dovecot.conf.d. So this is the file we were just in before, and you want to do that as well to allow plain text login. Now let's jump to the main CF. So in the main CF, we are going to look for SASL types. We have to kind of add them. So down at the bottom, what did I hit the wrong thing? I'm just going to quit out. When you're not sure what you just did, just do a Q, colon Q, and that gets you out of the file. So you don't have to worry if you just changed a line by accident or something. So down here, so SMTP SASL type equals dovecot. That's what we're using, so add that. The SASL path is private/auth. The SMTP D SASL auth enable, yes, that's what we need to enable. That is for the server to use SASL. But down here, I also added, so SMTP, that's for the client. I did add my host name here, but I took it out. It didn't seem to really need it. And then what we will do, and I'll just do this now, sudo service postfix restart, because we made changes to postfix. If you type it correctly, postfix restart, and then we're also going to do the dovecot restart. Excellent. And we can tail var log syslog for the dovecot, starting up for IMAP. And we're also going to do a tail of tail for var log mail.log. Okay, killed with that and restarted. Looks good. You can also do a status to see what's going on if you're not sure if things started properly. That's another thing you can do. So let's see if it worked. So what I'm going to do is I did a login here. I'm going to up arrow to where it was. Okay, so we're going to use sorry, keep moving past it. Where is it? Come on. OpenSSL space underscore here. I'm going to bring it up to the top of the screen. Okay, so OpenSSL s underscore client, and now we're going to start TLS. I didn't really talk about TLS. I enabled that as well with a few options, but it is what uses the certificates. Now I'm just using a self-signed certificate. Again, this is a sandbox. We use SMTP, and we're going to connect to localhost on port 25. So it's going to spit out a lot of information, but if we go back up to the command, can't get SL get server name. There's a few things that still need to be tweaked out, but this is really just to prove that it is working. Self-signed key, information to things. So let's do the same thing, the EHLO, and I'm going to say I'm coming from ben.com. Oh, okay, and here we go. This is what we're looking for. That shows that SASL is authentication is enabled. To log in through this interface, we would need to turn our passwords and encode them in base 64. And you can do that with a command. You can just do a Google for that, and basically it will give you a ASCII version of your password, and then you can pass it and authenticate. So I'm pretty content that that is working as far as we want it to work for the moment.